according to Robert Kiyosaki of Rich Dad Poor Dad fame, the most recent cryptocurrency executive order in the US will lead to the seizure of cryptocurrency and the creation of a government crypto. It sounds scary, but is that really what's going to happen? Hey everyone, and welcome back. This is the Part-Time Economist, and in today's video, I wanted to use the most recent cryptocurrency executive order in the United States as a teaching point showing why it's important to do our own research and come to our own conclusions in cryptocurrency. So just to start off with, let's take a look at this tweet by Robert Kiyosaki. So for those of you who do not know, he wrote the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, became really famous. He has a couple other books, but he's generally well known in finance, in personal finance, in investing, all of these things. So if you perhaps bought some crypto, you don't really know a whole lot about it, but you know Robert Kiyosaki is well known and people respect him. You're just scrolling through Twitter and you come across this tweet that says, "Bye bye Bitcoin prediction. Biden to sign executive order regulating cryptos. Next, Fed crypto. Next, all cryptocurrencies seized and folded into government crypto." That sounds very scary, right? You're thinking, gee, I just bought some crypto. I was trying to make some money and now it's going to get seized and like all this crazy stuff, right? And you're probably thinking, wow, this executive order, it's really bad. Why did Biden do this? This is terrible. But if you go and you read a different article, it will say Biden's new executive order on digital assets fuels U.S. crypto economy. And if you saw this article, you would probably think, wow, this is going to be awesome. Crypto is going to go up. Maybe I should even get more crypto. So the idea here is that one single executive order, both people have access to the same executive order, but it's been interpreted in two very different ways. And this is why it's important for you to do your own research and come to your own conclusions, because different authors or commentators or influencers, they're all going to come to their own opinions. So when you're trying to come to your own opinions, one of the best things to do is to rely on primary sources. So in this video, we're going to go through just a few points of this executive order, not to give you my take on what's going to happen to crypto, because on this channel, I do not give any kind of financial advice. Rather, I want to show you how two different people could come to different conclusions, even if they are both well-meaning, right? Even if they are both trying to be unbiased. And that really stems from different perspectives, different points of view. So let's jump right into it. As we see here, the executive order calls for measures to protect U.S. consumers, investors, and businesses by directing the Department of the Treasury and other agency partners to assess and develop policy recommendations to address the implications of the growing digital asset sector and changes in the financial markets for consumers, investors, businesses, and equitable economic growth. The order also encourages regulators to ensure sufficient oversight and safeguard against any systemic financial risks posed by the digital assets. So that is word for word from this summary. I just read it off to you. That's not me giving interpretation. That's not Robert Kiyosaki giving interpretation. That's literally what the text says. Now, let's try to think about how someone could interpret this positively, right? So it says, we want to protect U.S. customers, investors, and businesses. Well, that sounds good, right? Like, okay, we want investors to not get taken advantage of, or, we want them to have those safeguards and protections. Not only that, but we see that the government is saying, wow, cryptocurrency is becoming a bigger part of the economy. The government is realizing that crypto is, it's a thing now, right? It's not 10 people that are computer programmers that's all they do. They're into crypto. It's becoming a sizable portion of the economy, of the investing market, right? So under that scenario, we would say, hey, this is probably pretty good. The government, number one, they're recognizing that crypto is more important. They're going to regulate it. They're going to make sure people don't get taken advantage of. Crypto is going to become more legitimate, right? Now, how could we interpret that pessimistically? If we are Robert Kiyosaki and we're looking at this, we're going to say, here's where the bad part is. Look, oversight, that means the government's going to crack down. That means the government is going to come in and start controlling, right? So see where that difference is? One person is saying, hey, this regulation is going to make it more legitimate. It's going to be seen as an actual asset class that people can invest in. And then this other thing is saying, hey, I've made perhaps tons of money in crypto. I've been speculating in crypto. These regulations, they're going to cut down on that, right? They're going to maybe not let me invest in different cryptocurrencies or whatever the case may be. So we see one point can be interpreted in different ways. Another thing here, protect U.S. and global financial stability and mitigate systemic risk, right? So the goal here is we're mitigating economy-wide financial risks posed by digital assets. So here is, again, why interpretation is so important. So if you just listen to Robert Kiyosaki, he's going to say, hey, crypto's going away. It's gone. If you're listening to the other author, you're going to say, wow, this is good. So take a look at the actual text here. Identify and mitigate systemic risk. So how could we mitigate systemic risk? Well, first off, what is systemic risk? Let's suppose that we've got Bitcoin or cryptocurrency in general. In the first point here, we were trying to protect individual investors and businesses. So part-time economist, he put $100 into some cryptocurrency and it was a complete scam. He never got his money back. Yeah, that's rough. It's bad for the part-time economist, but it's not going to cause a 2008 financial crisis. However, on this one, what we're seeing is protect the U.S. and global financial stability, right? So let's suppose we've got cryptocurrency, and then on top of that, we've got institutions investing into cryptocurrency, and then they build derivative products on top of that. Then they stack other kinds of financial products, and they leverage, and they do all this crazy stuff. And then cryptocurrency's down here at the bottom, and it tumbles. All of that stuff comes down as well, kind of like the housing crash, right? The government doesn't want that to happen. So they're saying, hey, let's get ahead of this. Let's make sure this doesn't happen so that we can avoid calamity down the road. And again, that sounds pretty good, right? The government's going to regulate it. They're going to do these things. That's the positive spin. But the negative spin is, think about Robert Kiyosaki. What's the easiest way to mitigate financial risks? It's to just outlaw crypto completely, right? They're going to mitigate risk by getting rid of it. So you see what's going on here, right? We're looking at the exact same words, but our preconceived notions are influencing how we interpret that. So there's a couple other things here. Oh, I do want to touch on this one here, specifically with the CBDC. So as you see here, it says, by placing urgency on research and development of a potential United States CBDC, should issuance be deemed in the national interests. So what they're basically saying is we're going to take a look at creating a central bank digital currency. For those of you who do not know, that is kind of a hybrid of cryptocurrency and traditional fiat money. So cryptocurrency is decentralized, it's permissionless, you can send it, you can store it on your phone, it gives you access to all of these financial markets, things that you don't have to go to a bank for. CBDCs take some of those features, right? So they might be easier to send across borders. They might be easier to bank without a bank, so to speak. However, the government's going to keep some of those things from fiat currencies as well. They're going to build some back doors into it that give them control to be able to shut it down, to be able to track it. Things that wouldn't be found in a true cryptocurrency. So a lot of people in the crypto community are kind of skeptical of these CBDCs. And again, what you see here, the interpretation is important. Robert Kiyosaki. So we see here where he's saying they're going to create a CBDC, right? He could be getting part of that from this text right here, because it says, hey, we're going to see if this is in the public interest, right? However, notice the nuance of the text here. It's going to be looking into it, right? We're going to see, is it even viable? Is this something that's even needed, right? Do we even want a CBDC? Okay, then if we do need it, how is it going to be implemented? How do we do this in a way that prioritizes protecting the citizens, all of these different things. So if you've not read the executive order, I would totally encourage you to read it, especially if you're interested in crypto, but not just crypto, but also if you're interested in politics or economics, because kind of shifting away from the crypto sphere here, there's a very interesting political side to this as well. And I'm not talking about Democrat, Republican. I'm talking about kind of an international relations theory going on here. We're looking at the U.S. as a actor on the international stage, right? And in my mind, this really ties into the realist theory of IR. So the US, they have the world reserve currency that gives them a lot of benefits. It helps them have a stronger economy. They can export their inflation. They can do all these awesome things. The US wants to preserve that, right? It wants to preserve the US dollar as the world reserve currency. It's seeing Bitcoin, it's seeing these cryptos, and it's starting to think, gee, what if they become the reserve cryptocurrency? That's not good for us because now we can't just print dollars. Well, we can print them, but they're not going to be as in demand by other countries. So the US wants to maintain that, but they're also saying, what if this cryptocurrency thing is out of the box? What if it's launched, it's there, it's going? How can we leverage that? So you look at some of these other points here. We want to become a leader in, okay, I'll just read it off. Promote U.S. leadership in technology and economic competitiveness to reinforce U.S. leadership in the global financial system, and then protect the U.S. global financial stability and mitigate systemic risk. So we want, right? We want US dollar. We want that as the world reserve currency, but how could we maybe leverage crypto to solidify that advantage? Are we going to become a leader in digital assets? So cryptocurrency, it's out of the bag, but the US is the world leader in this. We've got all the greatest minds working on it. So even though maybe the role of USD isn't as strong, maybe we are better off overall because we're this leader in digital payments, digital assets, all of those things. And then, of course, this is an interesting one. I won't get too much into it, but the role of stablecoins. That's an interesting one, right? Because a lot of people are saying, hey, these stablecoins, they're a replacement for the dollar. And on the flip side, it's helping dollarize, right? So it's actually spreading the US dollar. So looking into the stablecoin argument, I think is going to be very interesting. I think that's one of the things that maybe a lot of politicians are saying, hey, this crypto stuff might not be so bad because it's basically helping us to spread the dollar even further. But again, I don't want to get too much into that because the total point of this video, the wrap up here, was to show you that even if we are looking at the same piece of information, we could come to two very different conclusions, right? One person could look at this and they could say, hey, crypto's going up. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be awesome. And then someone else could say, this is the end, my friends, right? So with this, the final takeaway is it's always important to do your own research. If you want to just follow one person on Twitter and when they say buy, you buy. When they say sell, you sell. That's, of course, totally your right to do. But most people tend to want to look into it, do their own research. And going back to those primary documents, right? If the president gives a speech and one of your favorite commenters says, hey, the president said he's going to do this in his speech, it's so easy to go back and find that speech and listen. What did the president actually say, right? And again, this isn't, I always like to say this, it's not financial advice, really just an encouragement for you to always do your own research. So be sure to let me know in the comments, what are some of your favorite crypto influencers to listen to? What are some of the worst pieces of crypto advice you've got? And then what do you think about this executive order? Let me know all your comments down below. As always, thanks for watching and I will see you next time.